and welcome back to Big Mouth, and welcome to Thursday's edition to the DCEU and everything else daily. Right, I'm going to reveal to you who is in the Wonder Woman 1984 post-credit scene. That's why I led with this in the title of today's DCEU and everything else daily. So if you weren't interested in knowing, you wouldn't come into the video. So if you have, these are the rules. I'm not going to tell you what it's actually about. I'm going to tell you who's in it, right? That is it. So I'm not going to tell you what actually happens, right? I'm just going to tell you who's in it, right? So you may be excited about this. You may be disappointed about this, right? But this, for Wonder Woman fans, is exciting because we already knew this person was involved. She was involved on Twitter, always, being tagged by Patty Jenkins, having convos on Twitter with Patty. She's very much been embraced since the first movie. And so it basically was no surprise to me that this person was in the post-credit scene. All the critics and everyone was saying they hadn't seen her in the movie. It's because they hadn't seen the post-credit sequence. Right. Are you ready? You probably know already. You're probably guessing already. Linda Carter is in the Wonder Woman 84 post-credit scene, and it's a delicious moment. It's interesting, actually. I was talking to my dad at lunchtime about Linda Carter, and he just come out with this. He goes, what a talented lady. And I thought he was being a bit of a perv, but he goes, no, he goes, she was great in the 70s and 80s. Not only was she a great Wonder Woman, but she was a singer, a really good singer. I didn't know Linda Carter was a singer, so a multi-talented lady. No, she was a great Wonder Woman, no question about that. And I think, listen, I'm excited about it. I like the sequence. It's very, very good. It's shot in a good way. I think Linda's no spring chicken. Now, she looks great. With the cosmetic surgery she's had, she's always made up. She looks beautiful, no question about that. But if you listen to her voice, she does sound like someone who's in her mid-70s. We all have to get old sometime, right? I'm 48 years old. I'm no spring chicken either. Just imagine me in 10 years' time when I'm still doing this and no one's interested anymore. Hello, welcome to the DCEU and everything else daily. So we all got to get old. So this is not a critique, but it's great to see Linda. She's a great lady. She was over at Fandom the other day with Patty and Gal, if I remember rightly. So she really is always been really proud to be involved with the Wonder Woman franchise. And we've finally seen her. And I don't know about you. Let's hope we can see more of her. But yes, I can now confirm that Linda Carter is in the Wonder Woman 1984 post-credit sequence. Now, as we're talking about Wonder Woman today, I've held back on talking about my thoughts and feelings. I've said a few things. I did give you a little non-spoiler reaction a few months back, and I'm not going to give you a spoiler reaction here. Not too much anyway. Because, again, yesterday I had family problems. Today, my guts are terrible. So I still haven't gone to see the actual kind of it finished and everything for a second time. And I think if we're going to do a review here on Big Mouth, on the DCEU and everything else daily, I think I need to get it all in my mind. But I do want to talk about the movie because I have seen a lot of non-spoilery reviews for this. So what are my thoughts and feelings about it? Right. So first off, this film hasn't got as much action as I thought it would have. And let me give you a great comparison. With Smallville having such a low television budget, the emotional elements, the characters, their development, and what was going on between them, the dynamics, had to pack as big a punch, maybe a bigger punch, than the superhero action. And this was Smallville. Now, this was because of the budgetary limitations, but it worked. So Smallville ended up being an awesome superhero show that did the superhero stuff great, but the emotional stuff always packed a punch. And this is exactly what you get in Wonder Woman 84. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a considerable amount of action. Now, don't forget, when Superman Returns did more emotional than superhero stuff, it got criticism. Even Warner Brothers at the time said to Bryan Singer, right, Bryan, we want you for the sequel, but we want more action. This is why Man of Steel was so action-packed. That's one thing that Warner Brothers absolutely wanted, and Zack Snyder was the right man to do that. But then we got all the idiots and bums saying that there was too much action in that film. No. It looked amazing. The emotional element was amazing. It was perfect. But of course, Superman Returns was a difficult kind of test case, really, because it continued from the Donna classic. And listen, people just weren't compelled by the emotional elements. It's different with Wonder Woman 84. We've already spent one film with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. You are going to see certain elements and certain characters from the first movie. It does go around the world a bit. It's not just in Washington. So they're little spoilers, right? And so all the trailers you've seen, I mean, I suppose you could argue that a lot of the action we've already seen are in the trailers, but you haven't seen the whole thing. Obviously, you've seen the opening now. It's a stunning opening with Lily Aspel as young Diana. I mean, I could talk about her all day, but we can't do that. But basically, the opening, I think, is just as compelling as the opening of the first Wonder Woman movie. That's the bit that wins me over for the character. It isn't actually Gal. It's young Lily Aspel. I think she's just brilliant. She's British. She's English. She's got a great future. She just needs to keep a good head on her shoulders. The family are a great family, and this is why she's just such a great, talented young woman. Can't say enough good things about her. And so, yeah, so the emotional elements of this film outweigh the action. And you may have heard this already, but maybe she could have been Wonder Woman a bit more. She's more Diana than she's Wonder Woman in this movie. Again, don't look at that as a negative, because the Wonder Woman stuff is awesome. But she is Diana a lot. This film really, truly is more about Diana as a person than Wonder Woman, because she's making some, she's treading down a road she shouldn't be treading down. She makes mistakes and she has to mend the damage that she creates. Really, this film, and I think, again, you would have heard if you've gone around the reviews, a few people say this, that this film largely is about Maxwell Lord and Diana. That's the dynamic that works whenever they're on screen together, because Gal's a really great actor, but this guy, Pedro Pascal, is the real deal. For Patty to get him for this movie, seeing he's been so prominent in The Mandalorian. I mean, he's been a big success in The Mandalorian. I was always shocked he was going to do The Mandalorian. He's such a good actor, but there's not many choices out there for people to stretch their acting muscles in today's entertainment industry, which, of course, is a shame. So he is the bee's knees. He's up there with Zod. He's up there with Luthor. I mentioned Luthor. People may laugh, but I love Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. The performance is excellent, but I do prefer Zod. And I would never say anyone so far has been better than Zod in Man of Steel. But I tell you what, Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord comes pretty close to beating him. Because I've always been a fan of Maxwell Lord in the comics, a few animated things. I liked him in Smallville. When I saw him in Smallville, I kind of liked the idea of the character. A lot of people compare him to Lex Luthor. No, he's nothing like Lex Luthor. This guy is smart, but in a different way to Lex. He knows, like in the comics, for example, he manipulated his way into the Justice League and tried to use them for his own profit. And so he's a very nefarious character, and very, very different to Lex Luthor. He's something different. He can be quite unhinged in Wonder Woman 84, by the way, but you will get a feel for his character. The motivations that he's doing, he has in this film are massive. And, what that does is you kind of feel for him at times, but as soon as you start feeling for him, you start to hate him at the same time, because he's not a good person at the end of the day. And I discuss good and bad people always on the internet. We're all good, we're all bad, we're saying in the middle. Nobody's perfect, right? But this guy and his motivations are leading him to something so dangerous and so profound and so greedy. He becomes this Pied Piper. And I believe this is the element of the film that is representative of Trump and what's been going on in the past 4 years. And listen, at the end of the day, this is Hollywood, 21st century Hollywood. They are obsessed with Trump. They think they need to represent what's going on in the real world. I could live without it. But this is Maxwell Lord. And to be fair to Patty and Jeff Johns and Callahan, all three of them wrote this movie, it is very accurate to what Maxwell Lord is in the comics. So it's not like they've actually gone and done something that he's not. This is what the character is. So he's brilliant. And then we've got Cheetah. We've got Barbara Manova, who is brilliant. I saw a review where they were saying she was kind of squeezed into this and you really didn't need her in the movie. Well, I beg to differ. I like the friendship at the beginning with Barbara and Diana. I think it's a very important relationship. It's probably not the be-all and end-all and you could have done without it, but it brings that humanity to the film, and to see the relationship break down because of jealousy is a big thing. But the stuff that she's got is not as important at the end of the day. You know, Maxwell Lord is the star-turn villain, is the star-turn in Wonder Woman 1984. And so it's important to understand that. And he's brilliant. He truly is. And you look at the MCU, who have awful villains. You know, they're literally, well, I'm bad. Now, I know that Thanos, I actually really liked Thanos in Infinity War. But to do what they did with him in the second movie, Endgame, was ridiculous. You had Thor killing him off at the beginning of the film. Sorry if you haven't seen it. Spoiler alert. Full of those today here on the DCEU and everything else daily. But do you know what I mean? And so you had this really brilliant, you know, thing they did with Infinity War and Thanos. And then he gets killed at the beginning. And then then they're fighting a past version of him. It's ridiculous. And if DC had done this, if Snyder had done this, they would have been destroyed by the media and mainstream fans. But, of course, the MCU can do whatever they like. They can fit an extra hour into, Endgame, and nobody kind of says that this film actually doesn't need to be 3 hours. Anyway, we're getting off the subject. Who wants to talk about the MCU right now anyway? We're DC fans, of course. And so this film does a really good job of the emotional element, the characterizations. I think very few films and TV dramas today are interested in good characterizations. Diana's characterizations leading on from the first film are brilliant. And then you've got Steve Trevor. And we're going to go in small spoiler territory without actually giving too much away. I'm not going to talk about how he comes back. I think you pretty much all know that. Or the conclusion of his story in this film. I don't want to go there. But what I want to say is that instead of Diana being the fish out of water in this film, it's Steve Trevor. I'm sure you've heard that already. But what I really enjoyed, and many critics and pundits are saying they enjoyed, is the fact he is in 1984. To him, it's the future. I grew up in 1984. I grew up in the 80s, right? But to him, to this guy, I mean, where did he come from? What year did he come from? I can't even remember, right? 1920? I don't know. Anyway, so he comes from a long time in the past. So somehow he's in 1984, right? And he's wowed by everything he sees, like the NASA spacecraft and things like that. These are incredible kind of accomplishments that he didn't see in his own lifetime. So he's so excited and so happy that he's here seeing the future that he fought for. He made happen because he fought for it. With what he did and his team and Diana did in the first Wonder Woman. But there's tragedy to that, because he's a man out of time, literally. And it's kind of devastating because you're watching the film and you don't know what's going to happen to him. I do now, obviously. And that does give you some anxiety in the film, because Chris Pine is a great character actor, and he proved that in Star Trek 2009. I would challenge any young actor to come into the role of Captain Kirk, played by the iconic, who's the original Captain Kirk? William Shatner. I'm crap with names, right? But yeah, Bill Shatner is an amazing version of Kirk, the original version of Kirk. For a young actor to come in and, I think equal that. I'm not going to say top that because I'll be destroyed. But I thought he did a really good job. So he's a really good character actor. So he makes you feel things. Really, Steve Trevor in the first and this film is our way into the film and story. Diana's Wonder Woman. We look up to her. We adore her. But she's a superhero. Steve Trevor isn't a superhero. He was just a soldier who decided to stand up for once and do the right thing and sacrificed his life, not for Diana, but for humanity, for the world, against the terrible, great evil. He's a hero, but he can be wounded. He can be killed. So everything he does, he risks his existence, as he did in the first film. So I really enjoyed Steve Trevor. Chris Pine was brilliant in this film. And as I say, you're going to see some favourites from the first film as well. So, keep your eyes open. As I say, it does kind of go around the globe a bit, this film as well. That's my kind of mini non-spoiler review. So that's the impression I had of it, that Wonder Woman 84 is more emotionally impactful than it is epic and kick-ass, but it still has that element. But I think it's, as I read something out what Patty said the other day to you lot, here on the DCEU and everything else daily, where she was saying she prefers on a slow build-up. I think she prefers telling a story, doing the characterizations more than the action, and she can certainly pull off the action. She pulled it off in the first movie, especially with No Man's Land, and there's another scene in this film that equals that. So basically, you could say this is the perfect superhero movie. And before I move on, there's always been this thought from me and other Superman fans. She would be perfect to write and direct a Superman film. Why? Well, it depends what kind of Superman fan you are. I think if you're a fan who wants to see the kind of film that Wonder Woman 84 is, which is kind of uplifting. Now, when I say uplifting, it's not in a boring way. It's uplifting. It makes you feel better about humanity and yourself. I don't believe people are really this good, but this is escapism, and it wants to show you the potential of people being better people. And so I feel she would be perfect for a Superman movie. Now, J.J. Abrams apparently is going to do the next multiverse Superman movie, which has nothing to do with Cavill or Snyder. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. Hopefully, we hope and pray, over on HBO Max. If that's still the plan, we will see. But I do feel that Patty Jenkins has everything in her locker to make a really good modern-day Superman film, but she's extremely busy. Rogue Squadron, is it Rogue Squadron? She's doing Cleopatra with Gal Gadot, and she's very, very busy, and then she's going to have to produce this Amazonian spin-off as well. So she's got her fingers in a lot of pies. She's becoming a bit like J.J. Abrams, mentioning him, by the way, where she's getting her fingers in a lot of pies, and creatively, this can stop you from doing the things that you need to do. So we'll see what happens with Superman in the future. But for me, Wonder Woman 84 packs an emotional punch, and it leaves you leaving the theatre really happy you saw the movie. It's another great entry into the DC Extended Universe franchise. You guys and girls and everybody else don't know how ill, how bad my guts, how uncomfortable they are. I don't want to go into detail because it's gross, right? So even that I'm doing a video today is awesome, and I should get a crown or something. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Anyway, I wasn't sure if this should be my main story. It should have really, but the Wonder Woman 84 stuff is trending and important right now, and it's part of the DC Extended Universe. But Zack Snyder has literally spilled the beans to a fan on Vero that Zack Snyder's Justice League will release in March. Take a listen to this exchange. Here's the fan. I just hope that if Zack reads what I said, he doesn't get the wrong impression about me for still having a copy of that thing he's talking about Justice League. But Zack, as usual, always knows the right thing to say. I'm going to start calling him Tom Holland, the stuff he's leaking out. He's already leaked out that they're going to release it in movie theatres and on HBO Max at the same time. And Zack replies with this. I understand and, of course, respect your feelings, and I just hope I can wipe that version out of existence with what you see in March. Did you hear what he said? March. Wipe that film from existence in your mind in March. Zack Snyder's Justice League will be released in March. Probably, Superman willing, in movie theatres and on HBO Max at the same time. Just listen again. I understand and, of course, respect your feelings, and I just hope I can wipe that version out of existence with what you will see in March. March. Not only does he say he wants to wipe Justice League out of existence for this fan, he said it's coming out in March. He obviously, clearly, is allowed to do so. So what do I think about it being released in March? Yeah, I'm really excited. I did predict February originally, February the 14th. I thought Valentine's Day would have been interesting, although February the 14th for an R-rated superhero movie, probably not the most romantic film to take your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever you're dating or married to or decided to be super glued to for the rest of your lives. Probably not the most romantic. So I can understand maybe why February the 14th may be too soon and not the kind of film to plug for Valentine's Day. But March is brilliant. Listen, we got January, we got February, we got March. We've got just about 3 months to go. Listen, I mean, this film, we should have all viewed it in movie theatres in 2017. 18, 19, 20. It would have been 4 years or just under 4 years since when we should have seen this movie. I am so very, very pumped and excited. And of course, if it's available in theatres like Zach's suggesting, and here in Cyprus, if it's near me, because of course I am the only carer for my disabled dad as well, so it is difficult to get out. But at all, if I can get out to see that movie, I will go to theatres to see Zack Snyder's Justice League as one movie. To be honest with you, I think this is what Warner Media are doing now. They're giving us a choice. If you want to stay at home and watch it as a 4-part miniseries, good for you. But if you want to see it how it was supposed to be seen as one freaking movie, then you can go to movie theatres. Then you can own it digitally, physically. And that's very exciting. So personally, I'm not criticising HBO Max for making it into a 4-part miniseries. Business is business. They've given us a great gift by allowing Zach to release the movie on their platform. But I would rather go and see it as one movie because that's how it should be. So this is awesome news. Thank you, Zack Snyder, for letting us know this. Now, all we need to know now is an exact date so we can get our calendars for 2021 and we can be like those people in prison where we mark off every day. It's epic, it's exciting, and I can't wait. I'm still here. The stomach's kind of still surviving. And we'll see how we get on. I'd kill for a cola, but I can't. I'll be in bits. Anyway, you can tag me, just like Scott Edwards does, over on Twitter. And follow me, of course, at Movies TV Mad. You know how passionate I am about movies and TV. I retweet all the breaking entertainment news over on Twitter. Tag me over there for any questions you have for me, for the DCEU and everything else daily, any videos you want me to do, any articles you want me to read. And I'll also give you a shout out. So Scott Edwards has sent me this one. And this is, I think this is kind of, let's say, some artwork of Tyler Hoechlin's Superman and the new Batwoman standing together because she will be crossing over with Superman and Lois in the new year, which is very, very exciting. So I love that. Thank you for that, Scott. And he has this to say. Movies TV Man. Here's some cool artwork of Superman and the new Batwoman, Ryan Wilder. I'm really interested to see them interact. What about you? Yeah, it will be interesting. I really hope we don't get this kind of, I hate you, you're a man. I'm not saying she's blatantly going to say that, but I hope she's not going to be bitchy to Superman, because you know what these creatives are like over the CW. I hope they can become friends. I hope they can become a unit, and I hope she is inspired by Superman and Lois Lane, and I hope they don't do the whole thing, oh, I'm inspired more from Lois than I am from Superman. You know, that kind of shit that they do. Do you remember the whole thing in one of the crossovers? Oh, my favourite Kryptonian, Kara. Do you remember that with Cisco? Ridiculous and transparent and childish and juvenile as well. But yes, Scott, I'm excited about the Batwoman TV show. It looks cool. And Superman and Lois is the thing every DC and Superman fan can't wait for. But he makes another point. At Movies TV Man, my official question for tomorrow's DCEU Daily is, do you think the Snyder Cut will be the same basic story as the theatrical cut and just expanded, or will be totally different movie? What will be different? Also, What are your thoughts on Thanos as a character in the MCU? Do we really have... Well, actually, Scott, you're very lucky. I was going to say, should we be talking about Thanos when we're talking about DC? But I've already spoken about Thanos earlier for you all. Yeah, so you know my feelings. Great in Infinity War. Totally cack-handed. Terribly done in Avengers Endgame. Anyway, is Zack Snyder's Justice League the same film? Well, asking if it's the same film and the same story are two different questions, Scott, and here's why. It is completely a different film. This is not a director's cut of what you saw in 2017. In 2017, Joss Whedon came in and was told they wanted a lighter and funnier Justice League movie and a shorter one. He rewrote most of the script, not all of it. He nearly reshot the whole movie again. Not all of it. It is a watered down, rushed film. That's not Joss's fault. That is, directly the then CEO, president of Warner Brothers, Kevin Sugihara. It was all his fault. He drove Zack off the project. It was disgusting. So we are looking, Scott, at a different film, but the plot you saw in the movie is the same plot, but it will be handled totally differently. I think I've explained it quite well. Hey, my fellow Snyder fans, different film, same plot, but handled differently. So you are going to see 4 hours of goodness that links to Man of Steel, that links to Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. So one day when you get the Blu-ray of this 4-hour movie, Zack Snyder's Justice League, you can sit there, get rid of everyone from the house, right, if you live with people, and you can sit there and you can binge Man of Steel, BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League, and it's one thing. It makes total sense. Because when you watch those first two movies and you watch Justice League, yeah, there's little bits and pieces just so they can kind of connect little things, but it's not Zack's vision. That film, apart from having a couple of Zack scenes, is not Zack's movie. And what they did, not only was it despicable that film in that state was released for consumption by one of the biggest studios in history and one of the oldest and iconic. I'm a big Warner Brothers fan. Fans? I'm only one person. I'm a massive Warner Brothers fan. This is why I'm sticking up for them right now against people like the Hollywood Reporter and other people criticising their decision to release things on HBO Max and in cinemas at the same time. We'll finish off with that. I'll talk about that a little bit later, very shortly. So, completely different movie, same story, handled in a more eloquent, expansive way. So what you are going to see, Scott Edwards, because maybe you don't know the history about this, because not everyone does, and I think that's fine and that's okay. I'm really happy you're taking interest, because I want as many people to consume this movie as possible. And I think all DC fans, and some DC fans hate on Zack Snyder. I think you should come in. You can't decide on his first two movies until you see the next chapter. And hopefully there'll be many more chapters in the Snyderverse. And so, yes, Scott, I hope I answered your question. Totally different movie, an epic movie, an emotional movie, and things like Batman vs. Superman covered, like the nightmare sequence, will continue. You will see Jared Leto's Joker, Amber Heard's Mirror, Deathstroke. These are very exciting. So this is a brand new movie with the same story, handled differently. And welcome to the final portion of today's DCEU and Everything Else Daily. And this is the Everything Else portion. I want to talk about the Hollywood Reporter's concerted campaign of hatred towards Warner Media, Jason Kilar and Ann Sarnoff. First of all, yesterday, Ann Sarnoff admitted, like Jason Kilar has already admitted, they purposely didn't allow their partners to know of their plan to release on HBO Max and in movie theatres at the same time from next year. Because Ann Sarnoff admitted this yesterday and said, if we gave them the heads up, they would have leaked the information to try and stop what they were doing. Now, they can't stop what they were doing, but it would have given them a head start to try with lawyers and things like that. And Ann Sarnoff and Jason Kilar didn't want to do that. What I like about this is it blows out this hateful agenda. because Jason Keeler and Ann Sarnoff are being very honest here. We know what we're doing is controversial. We know that a lot of you don't like it, but that's not going to stop us from doing it. I like that. So for the past 2 days, the Hollywood Reporter have ran two very, very aggressive stories on their site about Jason Keeler and Ann Sarnoff's and Warner Media's decision to this new release structure. So the first one was that breaking news, James Wan is going to get a big portion from a movie. Oh, this is a studio and executives at crisis. It's not. They're not in crisis. They're paying these people what they would have got paid with a normal release. Let's remember, if you're against what Warner Media are doing here, just remember, movies cannot make the money they once did during a pandemic. It cannot happen. The billion-dollar Marvel movies, it's not going to happen. And very soon you will hear an announcement from Disney about them doing the same thing as Warner Media. In fact, every studio is going to do this. And this is what's pissing off the old guard. There's nothing they can do about it, by the way. But yesterday's article from the Hollywood Reporter really did trigger me when it said, insiders say that movie theatres in the United States are going to sell cinema tickets dirt cheap so Warner Brothers don't make any money. Now, clearly, this is a blatant lie, because not only would Warner Media suffer, but the movie theatre itself, whoever was doing this, would suffer as well. It makes absolutely no sense. You're complaining that no one's supporting you and you would do this? No. What the Hollywood Reporter were in fact doing is suggesting to movie theatres publicly that they should do this. This is absolutely despicable, and this is an act of war from the Hollywood Reporter. Have no doubt about that. They are so triggered about Warner Media's decision with this new release structure next year, and actually starting this year with Wonder Woman 84 on Christmas Day, December the 25th. They're so triggered that they're running negative article after article to try and put the pressure on. But again, yesterday, Jason Keeler doubled down on it. We are sticking to our guns. We are going to do this. But in that article yesterday, again, you get these agents criticising Jason, saying, oh, he has no experience. He doesn't understand the industry. It's interesting when the old guards say that, when the people trying to preserve the old corrupt way of doing things say that. It's like, hey, he's not a good old boy like us. He doesn't know how things work in this town. In other words, he hasn't tried to bribe them or anything, right? This is how corrupt they're doing this. It's the case of the new young gun coming into town. He's the new sheriff, and he's going to do things in a slicker way than the older guard have done. That's what Jason Keeler is doing, and he couldn't give a shit because his focus is on customer service. Does that mean he loves me, that he wants to go down the pub with me, that he'd pick me up if I was on the floor in the street? No, he'd probably tread over me. It's not about that. It's not about Jason or Ann Sarnoff being caring, nicey human beings. It's not about that. This is business. And in business, in contemporary business, you must focus on your consumer. And AT&T have always put the consumer first whenever they've been doing their telecommunications. It's in their history. And this is why they were very polite to people ringing up their desks asking about releasing the Snyder Cut a year or so ago, a couple of years ago, because they're very customer focused. The customer comes first. So people like Jason Keeler and Ann Sarnoff have been researching customer habits. They are going to give us everything they want. If you want a bag of fruit pastels, here you are, Mick, have it. If you want a nice warm pot of hot chocolate, here you are, Mick, have it. You have to pay us for it, but as long as you pay for it, it's fine. This is business. And all these people criticising Keeler and Sarnoff and Warner Media are talking out of their asses. There is no other way forward. This is a pandemic. Yesterday, Screen Rant ran an article saying, they could lose billions and billions of dollars doing it this way. They're going to lose, if it's true, those billions and billions of dollars because of the pandemic, not because of this decision. This decision to stream on HBO Max for a month and cinemas at the same time is going to add money and worth. Because if you're in America and there's an open theatre in your area, you're going to make a decision. Do I want the experience of being in a theatre? Of course I do. I miss it. All I have to do is be hygienic, wear a mask, and keep my distance. The movie theatre you go into will have all the parameters to protect you, so you can do that. So also, you can come back on December the 25th and watch Wonder Woman 84 as many times as you want on HBO Max for free, as long as you pay your subscription and you're in America. What they're doing is giving you a choice. There's very, very few members of the public angry about this decision because Jason Keeler and Sarnoff and Warner Media have not withdrawn any movie from the cinema. No, what they're doing is saying you have a choice. It's up to you to support movie theatres. If you do, when this is all over, we'll go back to the old system. But if we find out you don't want to go to movie theatres anymore, then the world will change completely. It's up to me and you, because Warner Brothers is now a company focused on everything we say and do on videos like this, on the comments, on Twitter, and every form of social media and social interaction. It's why Jason talks to fans. He's on Twitter more than he posts. I can guarantee you of that. These are really intelligent people, good people. The way every decision they have made so far has been bang on. And I'm very, very excited about it. So they can keep on posting their stories and their negativity. It won't change a thing. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU and everything else daily. See you again soon. Bye-bye.